Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to the fourth Juzz Reflections. As a series that we've been doing every month. As we've been going through these pages and ayahs every single day. And we've now reached the fourth Juzz, or we finished the fourth Juzz. And it's time to once again reflect on this Juzz that we've now finished. And in today's reflections, we'll also seek to benefit from two verses, kind of two portions, again, inshallah. And the first of these verses is one that we hear every Friday when the Imam begins a khutbah. Starts with Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. O you who believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and die not except in a state of Islam. From Ali Imran, ayah 102. So I felt strongly that this is an ayah that is overlooked, and this is an ayah that we should discuss, even if it's for a brief moment, due to the fact that we don't, that we see it, we hear this so often, and alhamdulillah, we hear it so often, and due to its great value and importance. And the first notable fact is that about this ayah is that it calls upon the believers to fear Allah. It doesn't say, "Oh you who, oh you corrupt people," or "Oh you disbelievers." It says, "Oh you who believe." Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. Okay, and then he goes on to Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatihi wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Fear Allah as He should be feared, and die not except in a state of Islam. We'll get to that last portion a bit later. But it happens that a person accepts Islam and then thinks that simply due to the statement that they are in the clear, they say they kalima and then they're in the clear, right? But this is indeed the first step in guidance and salvation, to kind of declare Allah's oneness and to worship Him alone. But it doesn't mean that we have elevated ourselves to the position of righteousness by this statement alone, as some may believe. And thus Allah calls out to us to have the necessary and true taqwa in the ayah we are studying. And Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu also explained the meaning of this portion of the ayah, saying that he is obeyed and not defied, remembered and not forgotten, and appreciated and not unappreciated. And this helps us, inshallah, reinforce what we've been learning in the series regarding the connection between taqwa and obedience to Allah, as you remember from the third and second juz. And then the last portion of this ayah is also an important reminder for us not to die except in a state of Islam. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. And die not except in a state of Islam. If we could expand from this with a lot more time, and there's so much more that can be derived from this ayah, I'm just kind of keeping it short. We could discuss a different subject called like there's a different end to it. And many of the scholars discuss this topic as a means of motivating the person and kind of instilling in them the reminder that straying from the truth for even a moment can end tragically. And how many a Muslim has decided to indulge in some prohibition in Islam, committing some haram thing, only to find that the last moment of their life was spent in this act. If you remember, if you go to Jummah and you're praying, and before the prayer, sometimes the Imam says, pray like this is your very last prayer. If you were to pass away, you want to pass away in an act of good. You do not want to pass away not in a state of Islam. وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. Right, so this they ended up the people who end up committing this bad act and then passing away, they end up sealing their deeds and their life's work with an open act of disobedience. And this end does not bode well for such a person. And may Allah protect all of us and have mercy on us and protect us from such an evil and from such an end. And thus Allah reminds us to die as Muslims and to not stray from the path of obedience and humility to Allah even for a moment. And if it happens that you slip, as we all shall do, and we all make mistakes, then we should immediately rush back to His forgiveness, as we do not know when we would pass away. So we need to utilize the time that we have to keep istighfar and to return to Allah. And this kind of leads us to our next set of ayahs. Surah Allah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. And race towards forgiveness from your Lord, and for a paradise as wide as are the heavens and the earth, prepared for those who have taqwa. And then الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس والله يحب المحسنين. Those who spend in Allah's cause in prosperity and adversity, those who repress their anger and who pardon men, verily Allah loves those who seek perfection in the good that they do. Then the last ayah, وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُمْ ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ وَمَن يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ وَلَمْ يُصِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ. And those who, when they have committed fahisha or wronged themselves with evil, remember Allah and ask forgiveness for their sins, and none can forgive sins but Allah. And they do not persist in what wrong they have done while they know. So here Allah encourages us to rush forth, to race among each other for His forgiveness and for for the paradise, right? So uh, the paradise is kind of given description here. وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَّبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضُ, and for paradise as wide as are the heavens and the earth. And then, who is this paradise for? أُعِدَّتْ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, prepared for those who have taqwa. And this is a universe that, with now, even with all the technological advances that we have, it cannot be measured. This universe, this Jannah, this paradise. And this is where a universe where a star can die and vanish completely before its kind of light rays reaches our eyes. And so naturally the human intellect kind of collapses when trying to fathom and think of the size. Yet this is the size of Jannah. And once more we return to the issue of taqwa, because it is the admission pass to this glorious place, this Jannah. And yet, from Allah's infinite mercy, Allah provides us with examples of the behavior of these people, the people with taqwa, so that we can strive to emulate them. So there's kind of six examples that are given here. The first one being they spend out of what Allah has provided them with in both prosperity and adversity. So if you look at the second ayah, the الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس, those who spend in Allah's cause in prosperity and in adversity, and then who repress their anger and who pardon men. If you have been to a fundraiser and you are listening to the person who's conducting it, you would probably hear this ayah a lot. الذين ينفقون في السراء والضراء, those who spend in Allah's cause in prosperity and in adversity, and then go forward. Wallahu yuhibbul muhsinin, and verily Allah loves those who seek perfection in the good they do. You would hear this ayah a lot, and this is because the people who have taqwa are the ones that spend out of what Allah has given them. So now the second example is the ones that repress their anger. So والكاظمين الغيظ والكاظمين الغيظ والعافين عن الناس, who repress their anger and who pardon men. So they repress their anger, and particularly when they are capable of acting upon it. These are the people, the ones with taqwa. They have the fear of Allah, that even if they are capable of uh, of repressing against or going against people and getting mad at them, they are able to suppress this anger and pardon them. So then the third example he's given is they are forgiving of others and freely pardon those who have wronged them. So this is the other part, وَالْكَاظِمِينَ الْغَيْظَ وَالْعَافِينَ عَنِ النَّاسِ, and who pardon men. So they are forgiving others and they pardon men, and this is the ones that also have taqwa. And the fourth one, they quickly rush to seek Allah's forgiveness when they commit any wrong, whether that is big or small. And then the fifth example is that they know with certainty that only Allah can forgive sins, and that they kind of expect that from Him. And the sixth example is that they don't knowingly persist in those wrongs, meaning that they don't delay repenting. That's why it says in the last ayah that kind of covers these last two examples. وَالَّذِينَ إِذَا فَعَلُوا فَاحِشَةً أَوْ ظَلَمُوا أَنفُسَهُم ذَكَرُوا اللَّهَ فَاسْتَغْفَرُوا لِذُنُوبِهِمْ وَمَن يَغْفِرُ الذُّنُوبَ إِلَّا اللَّهُ, and none can forgive sins but Allah. وَلَمْ يُصِرُّوا عَلَى مَا فَعَلُوا وَهُمْ يَعْلَمُونَ, and they do not persist in what wrong they have done while they know. So this is kind of summing up everything that we've discussed today, and there's a lot of taqwa, this theme of taqwa and this motif of taqwa in these ayahs that I've presented today. And it is really important to kind of look back and see, are we being the example for others? Are we following these examples that are given in these ayahs, these three ayahs here? Are we repressing our anger? Are we spending out of what Allah has given us? Do we know with certainty that only Allah can forgive sins? Do we know? Do we knowingly not persist in sins that we do? Do we knowingly forgive others and freely pardon them? Pardon them? And this is what we should take home from today, is that we should look at these 6 examples and we should implement them in our lives to see, are we implementing, do we truly have taqwa in our lives? Because then if we can implement these and we can, I really do encourage you to follow these 6 examples, spending out of what Allah has given you, repressing your anger, forgive others and pardon them, rush to seek Allah's forgiveness, knowing with certainty that only Allah can forgive sins, and they don't knowingly persist in sins. These 6 examples is the example of a person with taqwa, and this is what we should strive to be, as the first ayah, وَسَارِعُوا إِلَى مَغْفِرَةٍ مِّن رَبِّكُمْ وَجَنَّةٍ عَرْضُهَا السَّمَاوَاتُ وَالْأَرْضُ. And for a paradise, we're trying to strive to be like these model people. So that not only are we trying to strive for Jannah, but so that we can make an example for other people, so that other people can see and hopefully implement these examples in their own lives. So alhamdulillah, that concludes for today's reflections. May Allah help us to establish these characteristics of excellence in our lives and to keep us from straying from the right path. Ameen. Alhamdulillah. Wa akhiru da'wana. Alhamdulillah. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.